I thought I knew what love looked like. I thought I understood what for better or worse meant when I said those words in front of our families 8 years ago. I was wrong about a lot of things back then, but I wasn't wrong about the man I wanted to become. My name is David Mitchell. I'm 35 years old, a mechanical engineer at Ford's Dearborn plant, pulling down $85,000 a year. Not rich, but comfortable. Steady. The kind of man who pays his bills on time, changes his oil every 3,000 miles, and believes that promises matter. I met Karen Stevens when she was 25 and I was 27. She worked as a bank teller downtown. Blonde hair always perfectly styled, smile that could light up a room, laugh that made you forget whatever was bothering you. I was the guy who came in every Friday to deposit his paycheck, too shy to do anything but nod politely, until the day she wrote her phone number on my deposit slip. "In case you ever want to discuss interest rates," she said with a wink that made my heart skip. We dated for 3 years. 3 years of her spontaneous road trips to nowhere, her insistence that we try every new restaurant in the city, her way of making ordinary Tuesday nights feel like adventures. I was the planner, the steady one who made sure we had gas money and restaurant reservations. She was the dreamer, the one who danced in grocery store aisles and convinced me to adopt a stray cat we named Buster. "We balance each other out," she used to say, curled up against me on the couch we'd bought together at a second-hand store. "You keep me grounded. I keep you flying." Our wedding was modest. Her family was small, mine was smaller, but perfect. 70 guests at St. Mary's, reception at the VFW Hall, honeymoon in the Bahamas that we'd saved for over 2 years. I can still see her on that beach the first morning, wearing my oversized t-shirt, coffee in hand, looking out at the ocean. "This is just the beginning," she declared, and I believed every word. The first year of marriage was everything I'd hoped. Karen quit her job when we found out she was pregnant. We'd both agreed she'd stay home with the baby, at least at first. I picked up overtime shifts to make up the difference. We painted the nursery together, assembled the crib, argued playfully over names. Ethan David Mitchell was born on a Tuesday in March, 7 pounds 6 ounces of pure perfection. I've never felt love like that before. Instant, overwhelming, protective. Karen was exhausted but glowing, and when she placed him in my arms for the first time, I knew I'd do anything to keep them both safe and happy. For the first 18 months, everything seemed normal. Ethan hit his milestones, sitting up, crawling, his first steps at 13 months. But something was different. He didn't babble like other babies. He didn't respond to his name. Eye contact was rare, fleeting. "He's just quiet," Karen insisted. "Some babies are quieter." But by his second birthday, we couldn't ignore it anymore. The pediatrician referred us to a specialist. The word came like a punch to the gut. Autism spectrum disorder. I dove into research that same night. Support groups, therapy options, early intervention programs. I learned about sensory processing disorders, communication delays, the importance of routine. I scheduled appointments, fought with insurance companies, became fluent in a language I'd never wanted to speak. Karen shut down. She'd imagined motherhood differently. Instagram perfect moments, family photos where everyone smiled, play dates with other moms, date nights that didn't require specialized babysitters. Instead, she got meltdowns in grocery stores, sleepless nights, and a child who needed constant structure and supervision. She stopped decorating our house, stopped planning weekend activities, stopped pretending everything was fine. I picked up every piece she dropped. 12-hour shifts, followed by cooking dinner, cleaning the house, managing therapy schedules, holding Ethan through sensory overloads that could last for hours. I was exhausted, running on coffee and determination, but I never considered giving up. Karen drifted further away each day. One night, when Ethan was almost 3, she finally said what had been building for months. "I didn't sign up for this," she declared flatly. My response was colder than I intended. "Neither did I, but he's our son." "He's your son," she replied with finality. That's when I knew something was ending. I just didn't know how soon or how completely she would shatter everything we'd built. I should have seen it coming. But when you're drowning, you don't notice someone else slipping away. You're too busy trying to breathe. Tuesday evening, October 15th. I remember the date because it's burned into my memory like a brand. I'd just finished a brutal 12-hour overtime shift. Extra money we needed for Ethan's speech therapy and occupational therapy sessions that insurance barely covered. My back ached, my hands were stained with grease, and all I wanted was to kiss my son goodnight and collapse into bed. The house was dark when I pulled into our driveway. Not unusual. Karen often put Ethan to bed early when he had rough days. But something felt wrong. The silence was too complete, too heavy. I unlocked the front door and called out, "Karen? I'm home." Nothing. I flicked on the living room light. Ethan's toys were scattered across the carpet, but not in the familiar chaos of a 3-year-old's playtime. They looked abandoned, like someone had stopped mid-game and simply walked away. "Ethan?" I called, heading toward his bedroom. Empty. His bed was made. Karen always made his bed after his afternoon nap, but his favorite stuffed elephant was missing. Panic started creeping up my throat. I rushed to our bedroom. Karen's side of the closet was half empty. Her dresser drawers hung open, contents rifled through. Her makeup bag was gone from the bathroom counter. That's when I saw it. A folded piece of notebook paper on the kitchen table with my name written across it in Karen's handwriting. My hands shook as I picked it up. "David, I can't do this anymore. I've tried for 3 years to pretend that this is the life I wanted, but I can't keep lying to myself or to you. Ethan being disabled means I'll never have the life I deserve. I've met someone who understands me, who sees me for who I really am, not just as a caregiver for a broken child. I'm leaving to live the life I should have had from the beginning, the life I gave up when I married you and had Ethan. Marcus and I are driving to California tonight. Don't try to find me or contact me. This is what's best for me. Ethan is at Mrs. Callahan's house next door. I dropped him off 3 hours ago and told her there was a family emergency. She doesn't know I'm leaving. I'm sorry it has to be this way, but I can't sacrifice my happiness anymore. Karen." I read it twice. Every word was a knife twisting deeper. She called our son broken. She called him a sacrifice. She'd planned this, orchestrated it while I worked overtime to pay for his therapy. I crumpled the note in my fist. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't throw anything or punch the wall like they do in movies. I just stood there in my empty kitchen, feeling something cold and final settle in my chest. Then I walked next door. Mrs. Callahan answered on the first ring, her 70-year-old face creased with worry and pity. She'd known before I did. Karen had dropped Ethan off around 3 o'clock with a hastily packed overnight bag, claiming there was a family emergency and she'd be back in a few hours. She seemed upset, Mrs. Callahan said quietly. Nervous. I asked if everything was okay, but she just said she had to handle something important. Ethan was in her living room building a tower with wooden blocks, completely absorbed in his task. When he saw me, he looked up with those beautiful brown eyes that matched mine. "Daddy!" He didn't run to me. Physical affection was still challenging for him, but his face lit up in that quiet way that meant he was happy. "Hey, buddy. Ready to go home?" I asked gently. "Is Mommy home now?" He wondered aloud. I picked up his overnight bag and forced my voice to stay steady. "No, buddy. Mommy had to go away." I carried him home, gave him his bath, read him his bedtime story twice like always, and tucked him into his bed. He fell asleep within minutes, exhausted from an afternoon of confusion and disruption he couldn't understand. Then I sat alone in the dark kitchen, staring at the crumpled note. Marcus. I didn't know any Marcus, which meant she'd been hiding this for God knows how long. Planning, lying, waiting for the right moment to run. But as I sat there in the silence, something became crystal clear. I didn't have time to fall apart. I didn't have the luxury of grief or rage or self-pity. I had a son to raise. The next morning, I called in sick to work and started making phone calls. By noon, I'd hired Mrs. Patel, a retired pediatric nurse who specialized in special needs children. By evening, I'd established new routines that would carry us forward. When Ethan asked, "Where's Mommy?" over the next few weeks, I gave him the simplest truth I could. "She had to go away, buddy. Is she coming back?" he would ask hopefully. "No," I answered honestly. After a few months, he stopped asking. By age 5, he'd forgotten her face completely. I made a choice that night. I chose to protect my son from a truth that would only hurt him. 10 years later, that choice would become my greatest weapon. 1 year after Karen walked out, when Ethan was 4 and I was 36, I filed for divorce. Grounds: abandonment. The paperwork was straightforward, clinical in its coldness. Irreconcilable differences seemed insufficient for what she'd done. Karen didn't contest it, didn't respond to the court summons, didn't show up to any hearings. Her silence spoke louder than any defense she could have mounted. The divorce was finalized in 3 months. I kept the house, full custody of Ethan, everything we'd built together. Karen got nothing because she'd wanted nothing except her freedom. The first 6 months after she left nearly broke me. Working full-time while managing Ethan's complex care routine, therapy appointments, and frequent meltdowns pushed me to my absolute limit. I remember sitting in my car after particularly brutal shifts, too exhausted to walk inside and face another evening of sensory overload management and bedtime battles. There were nights when Ethan couldn't sleep, pacing his room until 3 a.m., humming the same tune over and over while I sat in the hallway, making sure he was safe, but respecting his need for space. I'd catch glimpses of myself in the bathroom mirror during those endless nights, watching gray creep into my temples, new lines etching themselves around my eyes. The insurance battles were their own special hell. Prior authorization requests for speech therapy, denials for occupational therapy, appeals that took months to process while Ethan's needs couldn't wait. I became fluent in medical billing codes and learned to navigate bureaucratic mazes that seemed designed to exhaust parents into giving up. But slowly, methodically, I built something better than what we'd had before. Mrs. Patel became family, a steady, unflappable presence who understood Ethan's needs instinctively and never once looked at him with pity or frustration. She taught me pressure point techniques for managing sensory overloads and showed me how to read his subtle communication cues. Ethan's progress was gradual but undeniable. By age 5, he could follow complex routines independently. By 7, he was speaking in full sentences, though still selectively. By 10, he was excelling in a specialized education program that challenged his remarkable mathematical abilities while supporting his social development. The years blurred together in the best possible way. Weekend routines became sacred. Saturday morning pancakes that Ethan insisted on measuring himself. Afternoon video game sessions where he patiently taught me strategies I'd never master. Evening movies where he'd curl up beside me during the scary parts. We built elaborate Minecraft worlds together, cities with perfect geometric precision that reflected how his mind organized information. He'd spend hours explaining the logic behind his architectural choices, his face animated with the joy of sharing something he'd created. I never dated, never had time, never felt the desire. My life was work and Ethan, and that felt complete. When well-meaning friends or colleagues suggested I get back out there, I'd just smile and change the subject. I'd found my purpose. By the time Ethan turned 13, making me 45, I barely recognized the broken man I'd been a decade earlier. Gray showed prominently at my temples now, and my hands were rougher from years of maintenance work and household repairs. But I was stronger than I'd ever been, more certain of what mattered. Ethan was thriving in his own beautiful way. He had a small group of friends from his program, kids who understood his quirks and appreciated his loyalty. He'd discovered computer programming and spent hours creating simple games with mathematical puzzles. His teachers called him quietly brilliant, and predicted great things for his future. I thought about Karen sometimes during those years, but only in passing, wondering vaguely where she'd ended up, if she'd found the life she'd dreamed of with Marcus. Mostly, I didn't think about her at all. She'd become irrelevant to our story, a chapter that had ended so completely it felt like fiction. She'd made her choice 10 years ago. I'd made mine. I chose my son, every single day, and I'd never regretted it once. For 10 years, I didn't hear from her. Not a phone call, not a letter, not a birthday card for Ethan. 10 years of complete silence. And then, on an ordinary Saturday afternoon, she knocked on my door. Saturday afternoon, March 18th. Ethan and I were deep into our latest Minecraft project, a massive castle complete with working redstone mechanisms that he'd designed himself. At 13, his understanding of complex systems far exceeded mine, but he was patient with my clumsy attempts to help. "Dad, you need to place the repeater facing the other direction," he said patiently, not looking up from his screen, but somehow knowing exactly what mistake I was making. "How do you even know that?" I laughed, fixing my error. "Pattern recognition. It's all just logic," he explained matter-of-factly. The doorbell rang. We both looked up, confused. We weren't expecting anyone, and weekend visitors were rare in our carefully structured routine. "I'll get it," I announced, pausing my game. I opened the door, and time stopped. Karen stood on my doorstep. 38 years old, 20 pounds thinner than when she'd left, wearing clothes that had seen better days. Her blonde hair was darker now, with gray roots showing, and there were lines around her eyes that spoke of hard years. But it was unmistakably her. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then instinct took over, and I slammed the door in her face. "David, please!" she called out desperately. "Just 15 minutes! Please!" From the living room, Ethan called out, "Dad, who is it?" Karen pounded on the door again. "David, please, I'm begging you," she pleaded. Against every rational thought in my head, I opened the door again. Not out of kindness, but out of curiosity. I wanted to know what desperation looked like on the woman who'd called our son broken. 15 minutes, I said coldly. "Then you leave." "Thank you," she whispered gratefully. She walked into our house like she was entering a stranger's home, hesitant, fearful, taking in the changes I'd made over the years. New furniture, fresh paint, family photos on the mantle that didn't include her. I offered her tea out of cold formality, nothing more. We sat in the living room where she'd once played with our toddler son. I waited. I wasn't going to make this easy. Karen broke down immediately, tears streaming down her face as the words poured out. "David, I was so wrong. Marcus lied about everything. He wasn't wealthy like he claimed. He was barely surviving on unemployment and side jobs. He kept promising we'd get married, that we'd start fresh in California, but it never happened. Always next month or next year," she sobbed. I kept my expression neutral, watching her crumble. "He made me get a job waitressing. Then he started taking my paychecks, saying he was managing our finances, building toward our future. When I finally refused to hand over my tips, She touched her cheek unconsciously. "He hit me. Then he started bringing other women home, flaunting them, treating me like I was nothing," she continued, her voice breaking. My face showed no reaction. I'd learned to school my emotions during years of insurance appeals and IEP meetings. After 2 years, I ran. He followed me for months, threatened me, until I finally got a restraining order. I've been barely surviving for 8 years since then. Dead-end jobs, cheap motels, moving whenever he tracked me down," she finished miserably. She paused, waiting for sympathy that wouldn't come. "Why are you here, Karen?" I asked, my voice cold as ice. "I want a second chance. I'm Ethan's mother. I want to be part of his life again. I've learned so much about autism since I left. I understand now that I was overwhelmed, that I didn't know how to handle—" she began hopefully. I laughed, sharp, bitter. cutting through her rehearsed speech. "You don't want a second chance. You want a safety net," I stated flatly. Before she could respond, footsteps in the hallway announced Ethan's arrival. He appeared in the doorway, 13 years old and tall for his age, staring at this stranger in our living room with polite confusion. Karen stood immediately, forcing a smile through her tears. "Ethan, sweetie, it's me. It's your mom," she said desperately. Ethan's face remained blank. He looked at me, then back at her. "Who is she?" he asked simply. Karen's smile faltered. "Ethan, I'm your mother. I had to go away for a while, but I'm back now," she tried to explain. "My mom is dead," Ethan stated matter-of-factly, repeating the truth I'd told him years ago to protect him from a more complicated reality. "My dad told me she died when I was little." The color drained from Karen's face. "No, baby, I'm right here. I'm alive. I'm your mother," she protested frantically. "You need to leave," Ethan said calmly but firmly. "You're upsetting my dad." He turned and walked back to the living room, dismissing her completely. Karen stared after him, shattered. I stood and walked to the door, holding it open. "You heard him. Time to go," I said with finality. She followed me, broken and desperate. At the door, she stopped for one last attempt. "David, please, can you lend me $1,000 just to get back on my feet? I'll pay you back. I swear I will," she begged. My hand moved toward my pocket. For just a moment, hope flickered in her eyes. Then I pulled out my hand and extended my middle finger. "F off, Karen," I said with quiet venom. I slammed the door and watched through the window as she walked away, shoulders slumped, defeated, alone. And I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, nothing. That's when I knew I'd won. I don't regret anything. Not the sleepless nights when Ethan was small and couldn't settle. Not the hospital visits when his anxiety overwhelmed his small body. Not the years of sacrifice, the missed opportunities, the road not taken. Every choice I made led me to this moment, and this moment is exactly where I belong. Ethan is 13 now, thriving in ways that would have seemed impossible when Karen walked out 10 years ago. He's excelling in an advanced mathematics program, has a small but loyal group of friends who appreciate his dry humor and unwavering honesty. He's learning to navigate the world at his own pace, in his own way, and he's genuinely happy. That's all that matters. Karen, I don't think about her. I don't wonder where she ended up or whether she found the happiness she thought she deserved. She made her choice 10 years ago when she decided our son wasn't worth staying for. I made mine too. I chose Ethan. Every single day, every difficult moment, every small victory. And I'd do it again without hesitation. Last night was typical for us now. Ethan beat me soundly at a strategy game he'd been teaching me for months, laughing at my predictable tactics. We ordered pizza from his favorite place, the one that knows to leave off the green peppers that trigger his sensory issues. We watched a terrible action movie together, trading sarcastic commentary that made us both crack up. When he fell asleep on the couch during the credits, I carried him to his room like I've done thousands of times before. He's getting too big for it now, almost as tall as me. But some traditions are too precious to abandon. These moments are everything. These quiet evenings, these shared jokes, these comfortable silences. This is what Karen threw away for the promise of something better. This is what she called a sacrifice. She was right about one thing. She would never have had the life she deserved if she'd stayed. Because she didn't deserve this life. She didn't deserve Ethan's trust, his love, his forgiveness. She didn't deserve to witness his growth, his achievements, his beautiful mind finding its place in the world. When she showed up at my door, broken and begging, I gave her exactly what she deserved. Nothing. Not my anger, not my forgiveness, not my money, not access to the son she abandoned. Just nothing. I sleep well at night knowing I made the right choice. Family isn't about biology. It's about showing up when things get hard. It's about choosing love over convenience, commitment over comfort. It's about the promise you make not just in wedding vows, but in the daily decision to stay, to fight, to build something beautiful from broken pieces. Karen never understood that. She saw Ethan's autism as a burden to escape rather than a difference to embrace. But Ethan understands family. He knows what loyalty looks like, what unconditional love means. And so do I. To anyone reading this, family isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about staying when things get hard. It's about love that doesn't quit. Karen never understood that, but Ethan does, and so do I. That's all we need. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But when I discovered my wife's betrayal, I didn't just serve it cold. I froze her entire world until it shattered. This is the story of how I went from a trusting husband to a man who burned his wife's designer clothes on the front lawn while her career, her lover, and her future crumbled to ash. Some might call me ruthless. Others might call me justified. My name is Adrian Ross, and 4 years ago, I thought I'd found everything I was looking for. I met Vanessa Carter at a mutual friend's dinner party. One of those forced social gatherings where everyone pretends to be more interesting than they actually are, but she was different. While everyone else droned on about their careers, she laughed at the absurdity of it all. That laugh drew me in like gravity. I was 30 then, already established. Senior software engineer pulling in $140,000 a year. I'd bought my house 2 years earlier, a 3-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood. Something my father would have been proud of. Always protect what's yours, son, he used to say before cancer took him. Build your fortress before you invite anyone inside. Vanessa was 28, a marketing manager with energy that filled every room she entered. Where I was methodical and quiet, she was spontaneous and magnetic. She'd touch my arm when she talked, lean in close like we were sharing secrets. Within 6 months, I was proposing with my grandmother's ring. The first 2 years of marriage were everything I'd imagined. We traveled. Iceland in winter, watching the northern lights dance while she shivered against me, Japan in spring. Her taking 1,000 photos of cherry blossoms while I just watched her, amazed this woman chose me. Sunday mornings became our ritual. Coffee, crossword puzzles, her feet in my lap while rain drummed against the windows. Should we start trying for kids? I asked one morning. Soon, she'd say, kissing my forehead. Let me establish my career first. We have time. I believed her. I was patient by nature. Debugging code teaches you that. Problems reveal themselves if you wait and watch. 18 months ago, everything shifted. Her promotion to senior marketing manager came with longer hours, weekend strategy sessions, occasional travel. I'd cook dinner while she sat on the couch, laptop burning her thighs, scrolling through PowerPoints. Our bedroom became a place for sleep, nothing more. I'm exhausted, Adrian, became her refrain. This is temporary. Once things settle, but things didn't settle. 10 months ago came the bigger promotion, marketing director. Her new boss was Derek Hammond, 41, divorced, VP of marketing. She came home that first week glowing like I hadn't seen in months. He's brilliant, Adrian, she gushed. Demanding, but brilliant. I'm learning so much. I met Derek at the company holiday party 6 months ago. Expensive suit that screamed compensation, handshake too firm, smile that never reached his eyes. When Vanessa laughed at his joke, something stupid about quarterly projections, his hand found the small of her back. His eyes lingered on her a second too long, like a predator marking territory. "I don't like him," I said in the car afterward, watching her check her phone for the 5th time. She rolled her eyes. "You don't like anyone from my work." "This is different," I insisted. "There's something off about him." "You're being paranoid," she dismissed. But paranoia is just pattern recognition wearing a suspicious coat. And the patterns were screaming. Business trips that required new lingerie late-night texts that made her smile in ways I'd forgotten existed. Hair appointments before every trip, nails done, legs waxed. The credit card charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, always during lunch, always for two. 2 weeks ago, she announced another trip. 4 days in Dallas with Derek for a major client presentation. I watched her pack, humming to herself, folding that designer dress she'd bought last week, the red one that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. "I'll miss you," she said, kissing me goodbye at the airport. The kiss tasted like lies. I watched her roll her suitcase into the terminal, already pulling out my phone. The contact I'd saved 3 weeks ago stared back at me. Raymond Cole, private investigator. Time to find out exactly what my wife was doing in Dallas. The drive home from the airport felt like swimming through molasses. Every red light stretched into eternity, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I'd already met Raymond Cole 1 week earlier. Former cop, 15 years on the force before going private. His office smelled like cigarettes and broken marriages. "I need to know the truth," I'd told him, sliding Vanessa's photo across his desk. "And if she's cheating, I need evidence. Bulletproof evidence." "Court admissible?" he'd asked. "Destroy her in court admissible," I'd answered. Raymond had nodded, no judgment in his eyes. "I'll get what you need." That evening, I sat in my home office, the house echoing with absence. Every creak sounded like accusation. At 7:47 p.m., my phone rang. "She never boarded the flight to Dallas," Raymond informed me. My chest caved in, even though I'd expected it. "What?" "She took a flight to Miami," he continued. "First class, seat 3B. Want to guess who was in 3A? I closed my eyes, my father's voice echoing. "Protect what's yours, son. Always." "Derek," I said flatly. "Bingo," he confirmed. "Got photos at the gate, boarding together, laughing, her hand on his chest. I'm on a flight down there now. You want me to continue?" "Get everything," I ordered. "Whatever it costs." The next 3 days were torture. I went to work, attended meetings, wrote code, all while my phone sat like a live grenade on my desk. Raymond's updates arrived in devastating increments. Day 1, 8:43 p.m. Photos of them at a beachfront restaurant. Candlelight. Her dress, the red one. Derek feeding her dessert from his fork, her lips closing around it while staring into his eyes, the way she used to look at me. Day 2, 11:15 a.m. Walking into the Fontainebleau Hotel, his hand on her lower back, guiding her. The lobby security footage Raymond somehow obtained showed them checking in together, one room. The honeymoon suite. Day 2, 7:22 p.m. Video from the beach, sunset. Them kissing with an intensity that made bile rise in my throat. His hands in her hair, her leg wrapping around his tourists walking past, oblivious to my world ending in 1080p resolution. Day 3, 9:15 a.m., emerging from the same room, her hair messy, wearing his shirt. The satisfied exhaustion on her face that I hadn't seen in over a year. I studied each image with clinical detachment, the same way I'd debug critical system failures. Isolate the problem, understand parameters, formulate solution. "I need more," I told Raymond when he called. "Adrian, this is already enough," he started. "I need something that will destroy her," I interrupted. "Video from inside the room, audio, something that leaves zero doubt, zero room for her to spin this." Raymond paused. That's complicated, expensive, possibly illegal. I don't care about the expense, I said coldly. As for illegal, you told me you have contacts, hotel staff, security. Make it happen. If I do this, you never tell anyone how you got it, he warned. Done, I agreed. 3 days later, an encrypted email arrived. One video file, 18 minutes, 43 seconds. I sat in my darkened office, bourbon in hand, and pressed play. Hotel room footage, high definition, crystal clear audio, everything. Her telling Derek she loved him saying he'd leave his wife after the quarterly reports were done. Her laughing, saying I was sweet but boring. The intimate moments afterward that she'd stopped sharing with me months ago. Things she'd claimed she was too tired for. I watched it once. My face remained stone, but inside, something fundamental broke and reformed into something harder. Colder. When it ended, I closed the laptop and made a phone call. Patricia Thornton, a crisp voice answered. Ms. Thornton, I need a divorce attorney, I stated. The kind that leaves nothing standing. How bad is it? She asked. Adultery, video evidence. I want her obliterated. Patricia's voice turned sharp, eager. Bring everything tomorrow. We'll destroy her. I poured another bourbon and opened my banking app. Joint checking, $47,000. Joint savings, $63,000. Vanessa's flight home was in 4 days. She had no idea the war had already begun, and she'd already lost. I called in sick for 2 days. Family emergency, I told my manager. Technically true. I was handling the emergency of excising a cancer from my family. Vanessa's texts arrived like clockwork, each one a fresh insult to my intelligence. Meetings are brutal. Miss you, baby. Derek is pushing us so hard, can't wait to be home. Presentation tomorrow. Wish me luck. I responded with calculated neutrality. Good luck. You've got this. Every word carefully measured to avoid suspicion while tasting like ash in my mouth. First order of business. The money. I sat at my computer, multiple browser tabs open. Joint checking. $47,000. Transferred to my personal account, the one Vanessa never knew existed, never asked about her disinterest in our finances was about to cost her everything. Joint savings, $63,000, transferred. Investment portfolio in my name alone. Untouchable retirement accounts, separate property. Within 48 hours, Vanessa's access went from $110,000 to exactly $2,847. Her personal checking balance. I canceled our joint credit cards, removed her as an authorized user. Her next shopping spree would be declined at the register. The thought gave me grim satisfaction. Next, the house. I pulled out the deed, running my finger across the typed letters. Adrian Ross, unmarried man. Bought 2 years before meeting Vanessa. Paid down $140,000 of the $320,000 mortgage with my own money before she'd moved in. Patricia had confirmed it. Premarital asset. She can't touch it. The locksmith arrived at noon. Hispanic guy, maybe 40. Wedding ring tan line, but no ring. Rough divorce? He asked, replacing the deadbolt. Something like that, I replied. He worked in understanding silence, changing every lock. Front door, back door, garage, even the side gate she never used. 5 sets of new keys, all mine. The hardest part came next. I stood in our bedroom, my bedroom now, and began the excavation. Every dress from the closet, every pair of designer heels she'd needed for work. The lingerie I'd bought her for our anniversary, still with tags. The lingerie she'd bought herself, tags removed, worn for someone else. 32 industrial trash bags. I was methodical, checking everywhere. The bathroom, makeup palettes, skincare products that cost more than car payments, hair tools. The home office, her vision boards, marketing books, the journal she thought I didn't know about. I found the journal in her nightstand. Flipped to recent entries. Derek makes me feel alive again. Adrian is a good man, but safe, predictable. Derek is fire. Maybe I married too young. I added it to the bags. Evidence for Patricia. The guest room closet held her family photos, childhood mementos, the wedding dress preserved in plastic. The dress went in a bag. The photos let her explain to her mother why she doesn't have them anymore. By evening, 32 bags formed a pyramid on the front lawn. Black plastic monuments to betrayal. Tom from next door wandered over, beer in hand. "Spring cleaning?" he joked. "Something like that," I answered. He studied my face, saw something there. "You need anything, brother? I'm here." "Thanks, Tom," I said. He retreated, but I caught him snapping a photo of the bag mountain. The neighborhood group chat would be buzzing tonight. Inside, the house looked different. Cleaner. Mine. Every trace of her erased like debugging bad code. Identify the error, remove it, compile again. Patricia called at 9 p.m. "Papers are ready. Process server is scheduled." "She lands Friday at 3 p.m., I informed her. "I want her served at my doorstep, 4:30 p.m. "You sure about this?" she asked. "Once we serve papers with adultery grounds?" "I'm sure," I interrupted. "She brought Derek into our bed, Patricia. Maybe not literally, but she brought him into our life. Now she can deal with the consequences." "The video evidence? You're prepared for that to potentially become public record?" she warned. "I'm counting on it," I replied. After hanging up, I stood at the window, staring at the bag mountain. Vanessa texted again. "Presentation went amazing. Derek says I killed it. Celebrating tonight, then flying home tomorrow. Can't wait to celebrate with you too." I typed back, "Great." Then I set an alarm for Friday, 4 p.m. The label read, Judgment Day. I walked upstairs to sleep in a bed that finally felt clean. Friday arrived with unusual clarity. No clouds, no ambiguity, just hard sunshine and harder truths. At 4:15 p.m., I stood at the living room window like a sniper in position. The bag mountain had shifted overnight, some tipping over, clothes spilling onto grass like entrails. Perfect. My phone buzzed. "Landed. Be home in 20. Miss you." I didn't respond. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my hands remained steady. 10 days of preparation for 20 minutes of execution. At 4:27 p.m., her silver Lexus pulled into the driveway. She emerged still on the phone, laughing. That beautiful laugh now poisonous to my ears, the red dress. Of course she wore the red dress home. She took 3 steps toward the house before freezing mid-laugh. Her eyes swept across the lawn. Once. Twice. The phone slowly lowered from her ear. I could see her mouth forming the word, "what?" but no sound emerged. She dropped her suitcase and ran to the nearest bag, designer heels sinking into grass. Ripped it open. Her clothes hemorrhaged out. The anniversary dress, the Christmas shoes, the lingerie. "Adrian!" The scream shattered suburban peace. "Adrian, what the hell is this?" She sprinted to the door, pounding with both fists. The new locks held firm. "Adrian, open this door right now!" she screamed. "This isn't funny!" Through the peephole, I watched mascara already streaming. Behind her, a man in a gray suit approached with practiced calm. "Vanessa Carter Ross?" he asked. She spun, rabid. "Who the hell are you?" He extended the manila envelope. "You've been served." Her hands shook as she tore it open. I watched her eyes scan, watched the exact moment comprehension hit. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Petitioner, Adrian Ross. Grounds, adultery. She staggered, grabbing the porch rail. "No, no, no, no!" The process server was already retreating. Vanessa turned back to the door, pounding harder, her voice breaking into fragments. "Adrian, please, let me explain," she begged. "It's not what you think." I slid the window open 6 inches, appeared like a ghost in glass. "Don't contest it, Vanessa," I said calmly. "Adrian, baby, please, we can talk," she started. "I have video," I interrupted. my voice on autopilot calm. 18 minutes. You and Derek, Miami, the Fontainebleau, room 417, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon. Her knees buckled. She actually collapsed, catching herself on the railing. Oh my God, how... Adrian, I can explain... That video has already been sent to 3 people, I continued. What? Who? She gasped. Your CEO, Derek's wife, my attorney. She vomited, right there on my porch, the red dress now splattered with bile and consequence. You couldn't, she choked out. If you fight this divorce, if you claim 1 cent, if you even whisper the word alimony, I will make sure that video plays in open court, I stated. I will send it to every person in your company directory. I will post it online with both your names, your LinkedIn profiles, your company emails attached. It will be the first thing anyone sees when they Google either of you for the rest of your lives. She was hyperventilating now, gasping between sobs. Where am I supposed to go? She screamed. Not my problem, I replied coldly. Maybe Derek has a couch. Oh, wait. I paused, savoring this. His wife is probably changing the locks right now, too. Guess you'll both be homeless. Poetic, really. Adrian, I made a mistake, she pleaded. I'm sorry. I love you. No, I said, the word cutting like a blade. You love yourself. You love attention. You love whatever Derek gave you that I apparently couldn't. But love me? You don't even know what that means. I do. Adrian, please, I do love you, she insisted desperately. You told Derek you loved him, I countered. Tuesday night, right before you said I was sweet but boring. Right before you laughed about how I always fall asleep by 10. Right before you let him do things you've been too tired to do with me for a year. Her face went white. She knew I'd seen everything. My clothes, my things. You can't just... she stammered. 30 minutes, I announced. Take what you can carry. The rest burns. Burns? Adrian? You can't, she protested. I shut the window, locked it. She pounded until her hands bled, leaving red smears on white door. Neighbors emerged, recording on phones. Tom gave me a thumbs up from his porch. The suburban jury had reached its verdict. 43 minutes later, she gave up. Called an Uber with a voice destroyed by screaming. Managed to drag 3 bags to the curb. The essentials, left the rest for the fire. When the Uber disappeared, I retrieved the lighter fluid from the garage. The bags burned beautiful in the twilight. Orange flames reaching toward a purple sky. Black smoke carrying the ashes of deception into the atmosphere. Neighbors gathered at safe distances, mesmerized by the cremation of a marriage. Tom appeared beside me with 2 beers, handed me one silently. You good, brother? He asked. I watched Vanessa's wedding dress melt into nothing. Yeah, I answered. I'm good. My phone buzzed. Patricia. CEO and Derek's wife received everything. Monday will be interesting. I smiled for the first time in months. The weekend passed in productive silence. I scrubbed the house down to molecular level, erasing every trace of her existence. Repainted the bedroom, rearranged furniture. By Sunday night, it looked like a different home, mine alone. Monday morning, 9:03 a.m., Patricia called. It's done. Both fired, she announced. Already? I asked, surprised. The CEO called an emergency board meeting Saturday, she explained. Your video was comprehensive. Derek was using company cards for Miami $40,000 in client entertainment over 6 months. That's fraud. They're considering criminal charges. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not vindication. Just cold confirmation of a problem solved. And Vanessa? I pressed. Terminated for violation of company ethics policy, Patricia reported. Relationship with a supervisor, misuse of company resources. Her employment contract had a morality clause. She forfeited all severance, all stock options. Nothing. Derek's wife? I asked. Catherine Morgan took his case, she said. You know that name? No, I replied. She's the one who took Senator Walsh's husband for everything after his affair, she informed me. Derek's about to lose custody of his kids, the house, half his retirement, and pay alimony for the next decade. Good, I said simply. That afternoon, Tom texted, Vanessa just pulled up to her office. Looks rough. 3 hours later, another text. Security just escorted her out. She was crying. At 4:47 p.m., Patricia called again with details from her HR contact. Vanessa had a complete breakdown, she reported, screaming about unfair treatment, sexual discrimination. They had to call security. She threw a laptop at the wall. Derek? I asked. Tried to negotiate, she continued. Threatened to sue for wrongful termination. They showed him the receipts. Every dinner charged to the company while he was supposedly in Dallas. He shut up real quick. That evening, my phone exploded with unknown numbers. Adrian, please, I lost everything. Please, just talk to me. You destroyed my life. Are you happy? Was your revenge worth it? I'm at a Motel 6. I have $2,000 to my name. Please. Derek's wife took everything. His accounts are frozen. We're living in his car. You did this. I blocked each number without reading further. Tuesday, the divorce finalized. Vanessa didn't contest, couldn't contest. The threat of public humiliation was too great. I kept the house, all savings, all investments, my retirement, everything I'd built before her and during her. She kept her car, 3 months behind on payments, her personal checking account, and whatever clothes didn't burn. Derek's wife filed an emergency custody motion, Patricia updated me. He showed up drunk to his son's school, lost visitation rights. He's spiraling. And Vanessa? I inquired. Last update, they're together, she answered. Moved 3 hours away to some small town. But here's the thing. I made some calls. Word spread through the entire marketing industry. That video might be private, but people talk. They're unemployable in any major city. They deserve each other, I said coldly. One more thing, Patricia added. Derek's wife is suing Vanessa for alienation of affection. It's a long shot, but it'll cost Vanessa whatever she has left in legal fees. I felt nothing. Like watching a building demolition from a safe distance. Structural collapse was inevitable once the supports were removed. That evening, I drafted an email to my manager. I'd like to explore relocation opportunities. Fresh start. Response within an hour. Austin office has been asking about you. Same salary, better benefits, full remote flexibility. Interested? Yes, I typed back. I started packing immediately. Not running, advancing to a better position. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, then recognized the area code. Vanessa's mother. Adrian? What have you done to my daughter? She demanded. She did it to herself, Linda, I replied evenly. She made a mistake, she protested. People make mistakes. No, I corrected her. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was a choice. Hundreds of choices. Every lie, every night she didn't come home, every time she looked me in the eye and chose Derek, those weren't mistakes. You've ruined her life, she accused. I protected mine, I stated flatly. I hung up. Blocked her too. Outside, the burn marks still scarred the lawn where her belongings became ash. Tomorrow, new sod. Next week, new state, new life. My father was right. Protect what's yours, always. 6 months later. I stand on my downtown Austin balcony, 23rd floor, watching the sun paint the city gold. The condo is everything the suburban house wasn't. Modern, minimal, mine alone. Sold the house for $450,000. After paying off the remaining $180,000 mortgage, I walked away with $270,000. Combined with my saved assets, $680,000 net worth at 35. The new job is better. $160,000 salary, equity options, actual work-life balance. I code from home, walk the river trail at lunch, climb at the gym where nobody knows my past. I'm dating again, casually. Leah, a software architect with her own startup. She knows I'm divorced, doesn't pry. We take it slow, honest, no games. She stays over sometimes but keeps her own place. We both like our space. It works. Tom texts occasionally with updates I didn't ask for. Heard Vanessa's waitressing at some truck stop diner in Waco. Derek's selling insurance door to door. They're still together. Miserable. But together. I don't respond. They're strangers now. Background processes terminated, memory freed. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. I decline without checking. I pour Blanton's, the good stuff, because I can afford it now without someone questioning the expense. Raise the glass to the skyline. To freedom, I say to the empty air. The bourbon burns clean going down. Below, Austin buzzes with possibility. New company going public next year. My equity could triple. Leah mentioned a startup opportunity Tom's planning to visit next month. Life moves forward, not backward. Another unknown call. Decline. I smile, not with bitterness or satisfaction, but with genuine peace. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And I've achieved perfect indifference. I didn't just survive the betrayal, I transcended it. And I'm never looking back. The past is ash on a lawn 300 miles away. The future is golden, spread before me like a promise I made to myself and kept.